Welcome, everyone. So my name is Audrey Besch, and I am a clinical instructor and advisor for the new Trauma and Resilience minor in the Department of Counseling and Human Services. And today I'm going to be giving you an overview of our new minor, doing a brief look into the program of study, and also sharing my contact information. So as many of you who are interested in learning about ACEs know that about 1 in 6 adults in our nation have experienced 4 or more ACEs. In Tennessee, an estimated of 49% of children have experienced at least 1 ACE, and 24.1 have at least 2. Nationally, those numbers sit at about 45% and 20.5% respectively, making the work that we do in Strong Brain and the work across our campus extremely important. And as an individual who has a high ACE score of 7, this work is also very personally important to me. So the purpose of the Trauma and Resilience minor is to offer students a theoretical and practical understanding of trauma and its treatment. And we give students a solid foundation for understanding not just the impact of trauma on an individual, but also taking a look at how this influences their family system, as well as how this impacts us as a society. We look at preparing students for entry-level careers or graduate studies to work with traumatized populations. So the trauma minor is a total of 18 credit hours. 15 of these are core credits, and 3 credits are a guided elective. There's 6 courses total. 3 of these courses are cross-listed with graduate students, and it is available 100% online. This QR code on the screen actually takes you to our website, where we constantly update anything that you need to know about the Trauma and Resilience minor. So if you want to grab that, please use this for your future reference, especially if you advise students in majors and those who are interested in the minor. We are constantly updating that information. So this minor complements a variety of fields. This is not an exhaustive list, but it's some of the most popular ones that we have at ETSU. So a lot of students who are currently in the minor come from these backgrounds across campus. And this minor is really designed to work in a lot of different fields as well. So again, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just for any student who is interested in pursuing this type of work. This would be a great minor to complement that. So the program of study for the Trauma and Resilience minor includes interpersonal trauma-informed skills for any professional, not just someone with a clinical background, crisis and coping, homelessness, hunger, poverty, and politics, trauma theory, evidence-based trauma techniques, and then an advisor-approved elective. So now I'm just going to walk you through our core classes that we have, and I've picked out an assignment for each of these classes that I think is a very good depiction of what the course encompasses. So for the interpersonal skills for the trauma-informed professional, we really take a look at some of the basic skills that an individual needs in order to work with traumatized populations. So this is fundamentally important when it comes to not only things like de-escalating conflict in a situation, delivering difficult information to a client or their family, but also it really helps with that countertransference or secondary trauma that someone might be experiencing. So in this course, students are asked to do a somatic awareness assignment where they spend a week tracking their bodily sensations So it might be something like heart racing from anxiety. It might be a headache, back pain, something that they're experiencing throughout the week. But then they're given guided questions to answer for each of these. And at the end of this reflection, we sort of bring it full circle into this. This is what you might be asking of your clients, or this is how trauma might be showing up in the body. And they're encouraged to take this information not just as a empathetic lens to what clients are experiencing, but also they're encouraged to use this as a tool of self-care to notice when they're taking on a certain level of empathy that might be detrimental or harmful to themselves, so that they're actively practicing self-care before it gets to the point of things like burnout. Crisis and coping, we take a look at the stressors that families experience and really do a lot of focusing on prevention rather than just a intervention model. So what are some of the societal contexts that impede families from getting resources in the community? What are some of those barriers, and how can we not only prevent that, but how can we intervene in the helping professions to help with that? So really using a lot of theoretical frameworks such as the ABCX model and outlining family resources to buffer crisis. So in this course, we do a lot of case study discussions, and I actually worked with a local organization called YW Cares. They serve victims of crime between the ages of 17 and 24, primarily during like their regularly scheduled hours. But then after hours, they also have a crisis hotline, and they help victims of any age. So we worked together to create real life case scenarios of clients that they've had come through their facility. And we adapted these to fit within a variety of contexts that families face, such as financial strain, developmental issues, job loss, family loss, a variety of contexts. And so students are asked similar questions to what you see on the screen, where they have to find out what resources are available to this family and what might they need within the organization that this student is working in or wishes to work in order to help this family. Next, we have homelessness, hunger, and poverty. So this class really takes a honed in look on a particular population, and we go into the concepts of social justice and looking at the common good, but also our civic responsibility in society to help with these issues that are very much systemic. And we're also taking a look at possibly having this course added into an elective option, since it is so focused on a particular population. And I'm happy to talk about that further, and I'll share my contact information at the end for you all. But in this class, students have a service project where they're asked to volunteer at a local food pantry, soup kitchen, food bank, or other type of agency in which homelessness, hunger, and poverty is very pervasive. And then they do a reflection exercise based on course content and the service project in which they have been engaged. The next course that we have is trauma theory. So this class really examines some of the major theoretical underpinnings of trauma, specifically as a science. So we take a look at the treatment of trauma stress across the lifespan. We also dive into post-traumatic stress disorder and what types of treatment and theoretical models might be used in certain interventions. So students do a lot of reading through like research articles for adverse experiences and how this really affects their executive function capacities and how they're, relating to others, and really just focusing mostly on that theoretical perspective. And in this class, they do a group task analysis project where they're asked, based on a case scenario that they are given, they are asked to apply a task analysis to approaching the scenario and create a clinical decision based on what they think is the best theoretical approach to that case. So for instance, I just listed 2 steps here. So the first step, they would look at what resources are available specific to their community. And then step 2, they would look at adding trauma-informed care approach. And so they're just asked a step-by-step how they would take these theoretical models, but also meet within those resources, and how would they adapt this to be trauma-informed. The last core class that we have is evidence-based techniques. So this course complements theory in that it takes the theoretical models and then looks into what are the best techniques and practice based on the trauma stress that the individual and family is experiencing. So you can see here under course description and purpose some of the specific not theories, but techniques that we explore in this class. And then we also look at more in-depth on compassion fatigue and countertransference. So it really complements that interpersonal skills class that I spoke on at the very beginning. And in this course, we do more of the case conceptualization and more of a detailed treatment plan. So trauma-informed service providers need to have a spectrum of interventions to effectively and individually sculpt therapeutic practice. And while this minor is not very clinically focused, this is something that a spectrum of interventions is going to be very helpful, because one of the things that we're seeing in a lot of trauma treatment and intervention is it's not a one size fits all. And there are really good techniques that might work best in certain types of trauma stress, certain types of symptoms. And this is really what students are learning in this course specifically. So the last class is the guided elective. This is just a list of some of the ones that we have. We're actually going to be going through to look at where we might take away courses or add courses. So this is something that I invite anyone who is interested in working with us to partner maybe a class that you think should be on here. We have developed a subcommittee to where we're going to be going through all of this information. And I have created, alongside of my colleagues, some standard criteria of how we're going to be vetting these courses. So the standard criteria for which all of our courses will be vetted is the student receives evidence-based information regarding the evaluation of trauma, stress, and grief from a neurobiological, biochemical, physical, social, spiritual, and systemic perspective. And then the other 2 criteria would be that the course matter discusses a systemic approach to the overall trauma treatment system. And then the student will receive information regarding the most essential considerations in prevention, intervention, regulatory policies, treatment barriers, social justice, and systems of power. Or that the course makes use of scholarship that specifically addresses adverse childhood experiences and resilience science. So if you know of a course that you think really fits within this criteria, or something that you maybe want to partner and create something, Again, my contact information will be shared at the end, and I'm open to all of the possibilities there. So the QR code that I shared with you previously, this is information that you can find using that QR code, that link. So we will be updating this so that we have several semesters out, so that anyone who is advising and they have a student who wants to minor in trauma and resilience, this will be super helpful information to you, because you'll be able to see when we're offering certain courses. I do not yet have a suggested sequence. This is something that I'm going to be working on with the subcommittee first. I just want to make sure that I'm getting all the feedback and things that I need to know for that before I share it. But once I do have a suggested sequence, it will be shared on that website. So normally I would do a Q&A at this time for the presentation, but instead I'm going to share my contact information. So if you want to do a screen grab, copy that, write it down, feel free to contact me about any of the information in this presentation. Again, I welcome feedback, conversation, anything that you think might need to be included or omitted. I invite all of the conversation behind that. But thank you for listening.